A Kind Voice Radio.
Hello and welcome to A Kind Voice on Big Ideas and Philosophy. I'm your host, David Levins, and tonight we're with DJ Steve Porter. Steve does very creative work. He creates these wonderful video mashups that are kind of like a symphony of unusual and interesting things mashed together. We have an example in the show notes called You Play to Win the Game that will give you the gist of the type of creative work Steve's done. He's been featured on many of the major networks. He's been nominated for an Emmy Award and has many other awards for the great work he's done. So it's a thrill to have Steve on tonight. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Hey, David. It's great to be on with you tonight.
Very, very good to have you. I appreciate you coming on. So for someone who doesn't know what a video mashup is, can you kind of give them an overview on what you do?
Sure. The video mashup, I think, for me, has evolved quite a bit over the last couple of years. When I first started putting together video mashups, it was sort of kind of a really basic approach of just sort of remixing video clips on top of a beat or on top of music and just sort of like having fun with it, cutting up, making little chops, and cutting video on top of a beat and making a little sort of, you try to make a song out of a piece of viral video and you put it on a beat, and then it sort of evolved over the last couple of years to a much more editorial, story-based, almost, it's really kind of developed for me a lot, and now we basically try to tell a story through the mashups now, which is really kind of fun.
Before you even published the video, how did you get the idea to do it? Were you just playing around to do something fun? Or
it was a very organic. Yeah, indeed. It was a very organic beginning. When I first started getting involved with mashing up video, it was just kind of, creative sandbox play. I was a touring DJ, and I played in clubs around the world for about 10 years. Then I was living in New York, and then that lifestyle and the kind of music that I was making for clubs was a big influencer in how I started to get involved with video. I was just sort of on the side tinkering around. I decided, hey, I want to start cutting up some video, and I just wanted to try something new. And so it was a very organic kind of innocent beginning. I didn't go into it thinking that this is going to be the next big thing for me.
There's an interesting connection between the two, because as a DJ, you're trying to set the energy for what's happening in the club.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a direct correlation between DJing for a dance floor and playing, creating a spot for an audience. It's a direct correlation. You're playing to an audience in both instances. And I would say the only difference is that in the sort of mashup world, when you're making a video remix of any topic, the sort of targets your audience is much more diverse, as opposed to when you're making a club track. It's specifically designed only just to make people dance or to, for them to enjoy the music. But in a instance of making a video mashup of any type of topic, it's a very, very open format, and you can take on anything from, comedy to drama to sports, entertainment, whatever, and so it really opens up a whole new paradigm.
Very interesting. So in a club, you try to adjust the music to the energy of the audience at hand, but when you create the video mashup, you have a target audience in mind, even though you can't directly see them. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a different kind of audience. You can't see them and you can't interact with them immediately, but you get a good idea about what the audience is when you, whether you're talking to your client or you're talking to, a network, and they're looking for a certain type of spot. They want a certain type of vibe. They want a certain type of editorial put into the spot to cover these talking points or these hot buttons. And so you kind of know what the audience is going to be, but it's a little different in that sense because, when you're DJing in the club, you have that direct, immediate interaction when you can see people are dancing, and then in other instances you can see when they're not.
So you changed Slap Chop to Rap Chop. Was that your first professional mashup?
No, I actually was tinkering around with a bunch of earlier ones than that. That just happened to be sort of the watershed moment. But I was tinkering around for about a year, and just throwing stuff up on YouTube. I was just totally thinking around, and that one just happened to be just sort of catch fire, and really kind of caught everybody by surprise, including myself.
It's a good surprise, right?
Yeah.
All those views.
Completely life-changing moment for sure. I'd never experienced anything that exploded on a viral level before like that.
It must be a real good rush. So what was your first one that you completed before Rap Chop? That was your first completed mashup?
Well, it was a series. I mean, my first one was just my first ever project was just I think I made a remix of Fraggle Rock. I didn't even know what I was working on. It was the first time I ever loaded a video into an editing software, and I was like, all right, we'll start with Fraggle Rock, and I put that up, and I just kept putting new videos up, and then I started getting involved with the sports stuff. I was like, well, after I put up the Rap Chop one, I was like, well, what else do I like? I love sports, so I started making videos out of sports clips too, and that ended up being a kind of a fun thing as well.
Those videos are tremendously fun, and I love You Play to Win the Game. How long did it take you to create You Play to Win the Game?
That one, that was probably like 2 weeks, probably a couple weeks in the making. Back then I probably took a little longer to make them, and I've become a little bit more proficient now, efficient, and so I would say probably 2.5 weeks to sort of kind of cut and splice all the content. And, I had sort of a basic approach back then too, which is kind of fun. You just sort of just run with what the clips give you, and, it wasn't so cut up. It was, it was kind of just, running with the organic, the natural flow of what the video clips were already doing, and just kind of, trying to get them to flow on top of the beat, which is fun. And, so I think the difference between You Play to Win the Game and how I put them together now would be just I'm very more microscopic on my precision-like cuts on the video clips now, where in the beginning it was a bit more just sort of like flowing with what the video was already kind of doing sonically. Okay,
so before you worked with kind of like bigger puzzle pieces, and now you're more granular in how you really put them together?
Yeah, exactly. It's I've definitely busted out the fine-tooth comb a bit more in the last couple of years. But yeah. It
seems like a symphony to me, how you put all these pieces together. And just to an outsider, where You Play to Win the Game, so it melts together a bunch of press conferences from football coaches who are upset about something, and it puts them all together into something very entertaining. But how do you have to put all the press conferences on the table, and I would guess you've had to look at probably hundreds of clips to select the ones you wanted to use. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's, if anything, that's like by far half of the work is just going through all of the video clips. And, we spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time just watching stuff and cutting stuff up. And the prep work is enormous on these things. So it takes a patient hand, because, you could spend a full day or two just going through video clips, and then finally, sort of getting down to like putting together and producing the music. And then, you don't necessarily know where it's all going to go. It's such a long road when you first start one, but it tends to come together. Just there's a moment where it starts to, okay, this is it starts to gel a little bit.
It takes on a life of its own, it sounds like.
Yeah, it does. There's a moment, you know. I mean, I won't lie to you. There's some times where I'm like, I have no idea how this is going to come together. You know, sometimes we'll get video clips from a client or a network, and you know, they want me to put together something, and I'm just like, at that moment, I might be like, wow, you know, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off, but you know, you just kind of keep throwing mud at the wall until you get sort of an image.
Do you take inspirations from other kinds of artists? I mean, when you were talking about throwing mud at the wall, I thought of the Jackson Pollock movie I saw a long time ago, but he had kind of a pattern in mind. Do you take inspiration from other forms of art when you're creating these videos?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I have sort of a default inspiration from my DJ and production club music past, but you know, inspiration is something that I have to kind of keep tabs on because I have such a high level of output with what I do. I'm such a kind of a hard worker person that you know, it's important for me to sort of like step back and look at other art and listen to other music and get inspiration from as much as I can because you know, if anything, my tendency is to just work and dig and work and almost forget to like peek outside and see what's going on. So I make a point before every project to, you know, check out the top 100 of what's going on in the music scene and just make sure that, like, you know, stylistically I'm not going to be so far off the map.
So you get inspiration from other music videos? Do you get inspirations from books or movies or other forms of art?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sort of you know, I guess I'm just sort of like your classic creative person where, you know, my inspiration comes from, you know, walking down the grocery store aisle and just all of a sudden I'll hear like a snippet of a song that sparks an idea. And so ideas come at any moment, you know. It could be, certainly be in a movie or walking down a grocery store aisle or just sort of pops in your head. You're walking down the sidewalk and, you know, you have this moment where an idea just froths to the top, and so yeah, it just kind of flows, you know.
That's just such a fascinating thing. Now, you must have ideas all the time and in odd places, and you write them down when you have them. Yeah,
I definitely write them down, or you know, voice memo. You know, the good old voice memo in the iPhone. It's great for. I just put a little beatbox in my voice memo, or you know, or you know, I will send myself an email with like any sort of lyrics that I've thought of for a particular spot. So yeah, I mean, any way I can like document those little creative sparks, I'll certainly try to.
So, do you have like an inventory of creative sparks that you haven't touched yet?
Definitely. I have an absurd amount of those, actually. I had, you know, it's like this never-ending pursuit of trying to clean your creative closet. And, you know, I have, I don't know if it's like by design, but I keep a partially messy closet creatively in the sense of I have a lot of projects that I've started that are just sort of sitting there, and you know, the time wasn't right. It wasn't like, you know, I just didn't get it. The concept just is sitting there on ice, and occasionally I go back and I go ahead and I just polish them off. I give them. I mean, it might be a year, it might be a couple years, a couple weeks. I don't even know, but sometimes I go back to those projects with a fresh mind and polish them off.
So it's not up to your standard that you don't feel you have closure on it, and then you just got to let it sit for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had it that way. You know, I think I've always had sort of a cachet of stuff that's brewing, but then there's the stuff that comes together really quick. You know, sometimes you have a moment where you put together an entire piece in like 24 hours. Everything just really like came together very fast, and then in other instances, you know, conceptually, you're just not really sure if you're ready to finish it off. You're kind of tinkering with it for a while, and I certainly have a few of those conundrums sitting on my hard drives. But you know, I gradually polish them off, and it's kind of fun. You have these like long-term projects where you kind of let it sit and put it on ice and then open it back up, listen to it again, put it back on ice,
But it must be very satisfying when you put something on ice and then you have the insight to get closure on it. And
it's great. It's really great. I think it's kind of toxic to have too many things that are unfinished, and I'm definitely a finisher for the most part. So it presents its own challenge because it becomes this it's sort of a challenge. You're not sure if you can finish it, and then you finally do. It's a great feeling.
Cool. It's very, very interesting stuff. We need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hi, I'm Claire Bloom, and I started End 68 Hours of Hunger to put bags of food in the hands of local children who have little or nothing to eat for the 68 hours between the free lunch they get in school on Friday and the free breakfast they get in school on Monday. Our vision is to end childhood hunger in America one school at a time, and that's how we operate. We start programs wherever we have 2 volunteers in a community who are prepared to step up and take responsibility for running the program, and we grow from there. Today, we're feeding 900 children each weekend in 29 communities, and we're growing. If you're interested in starting a program in your community, please visit our website at www.end68hoursofhunger.org and click on the tab at the top of the page that says FAQ. Everything you need to know about starting a program is there, including videos on how to talk with groups, how to set up your space, and even what kind of food to include in the bags. Feel free to reach out to me at end68hoursofhunger@gmail.com.
Hi, I'm Tiffany with Friends from Home. Did you know that every year roughly 40 million Americans change their address? That's almost 13% of the U.S. population. Many of them move from one coast to the other and for many different reasons. A new job, better weather, or just a much-needed change. But no matter where you move, it can be hard to meet people that you connect with. That is what Friends from Home is all about. Find a community of people in your city that are from your home state or country without having to friend request strangers. You can also find events to meet people you'll have more rapport with. Visit friendsfromhome.com and get connected to kind voices that are from where you are from.
Kind Voice Radio.
And welcome back to Kind Voice on Big Ideas and Philosophy. I'm David Levins, and we're talking with DJ Steve Porter. Is most of your work requested by somebody, or do you do things on your own part of the time? Your own inspiration?
As soon as I started doing these video remix mashups, it just became this sort of phenomenon of business that sort of trickles in. It's such a new industry and such an emerging industry. I would say that it's been this phenomenon where just there's been this slow, steady trickle of people calling on me to produce mashups since the beginning, and I've had a tough time quantifying it, and we've certainly had a tough time trying to make a sales pitch. It seems like when people want one, they really want one, and but it's hard to be it's hard to go out on the road and sell one. So it's just been a really pleasant trickle of business since I began, and so most of it is asked and requested, and we get a lot of business inquiries.
Was you Play to Win the Game? Was that requested, or one that you did on your own?
It was actually, yeah. That was one of the first. I would say maybe. I produced that back when I was producing the NBA commercials, and I did that for Inside the NFL which is on Showtime, and the executive producer for CBS Sports, Pete Radovich, had brought me on and brought me down to New York, and we started kind of tinkering around. I went down to a little studio there in New York, and I produced it half in New York and then half up in Massachusetts. But that was really cool. That was one of the first times I had a chance to work with somebody like Pete, who's very well-known and renowned executive producer, creative director for CBS Sports.
Well, when you actually put together the video, was the creative part of putting it together, was that all you, or did you collaborate with somebody?
Well, I mean, I think I've been fortunate to receive a pretty good creative license from everybody that I've worked with, but in that instance, I'm always passing over sort of drafts, and when the initial concept gets off the ground, I always pass over like a first draft, and then in this instance, I was passing over a first draft to my collaborators at CBS Sports, and then sort of getting their feedback and seeing if it was in the right direction, if they were feeling it, and I really enjoy that process because, you know, the collaborative process is very eye-opening and enriching, and I love. It can be also very frustrating. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you know, when you're constantly leaving your art open for critique, sometimes you get feedback that is not so favorable. But in this case, in most cases, I'm always sending a first draft, a second draft, and then the final draft.
Now you said the videos take on a life of their own. When you started you played to win the game, because the Herm Edwards press conference seems to be like the spine that you kept going back to that holds it together. Is that an accurate way to describe it?
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, I think that's as you say, hold it together. I mean, you just sort of aim to have musical structure. And I haven't always succeeded at that, but I try to do that on every spot, is have structure. And ultimately that's something that makes something catchy. It gets in your head and you keep repeating stuff and it's catchy and infectious. And that's always the goal. You know, I've had sort of a journey of different styles and mashups, and there's been some that I've produced that have almost had like no repeating hook. It's like a endless clip remix reel. But it depends, you know, it really depends on what the goal is and what the client's looking for, and you know, how kind of simple or complex you're trying to make it.
Well, I mean, some of these are just wonderful symphonies, and you're focused on it for like maybe 2 weeks, maybe longer. Do you have difficulty letting it go after you're done working on it?
It's a great question. It's a difficult process because, you know, you just put so much creative energy into these spots, and in some cases, like, they have a very short time on the shelf when you're done, and so you kind of have to divorce yourself from the project once you're done with it, because your first instinct is to, you know, have a moment with a finished product. You know, you want to, you know, have a moment. You want to take a walk and listen to it and just sort of, you know, just admire the finished piece. In many cases, you know, one of the spots will air on TV for a few times, and that's it. And it'll go online, and, you know, online is a crowded market. You know, it's very hard to make something go viral. Not everything goes viral. And so you have to have sort of a moment where you divorce yourself from it and move on, because it is so much creative energy is invested in these things that if you don't divorce yourself from the project, you get caught up on it. So yeah, it's difficult. You really have to cut yourself free from it once you're done with it.
So you have a finished product you believe is done. How long is this moment? Is it a couple of hours? Sometimes do you let it sit longer, depending on the project?
It's funny. I mean, I actually, you know, I actually have a moment with my finished. I'll finish a piece, and I might put it on my iPhone. I might just go like listen to it in the car for like 10 times in a row, and like sort of just get it out of my system, you know. And then that's it. You know, I'll just kind of almost beat myself to death with it and move on. You know, it's a little different, because when I produce music tends, you know, just pure music tends to have a little bit longer of sort of a shelf life, you know, and, you know, producing media spots is difficult sometimes, because it's a one-time use only. They might only air it once. It might only air at a conference one time, and then that's it. That was the entire purpose of the spot. So you can't really put too much weight on the actual, you know, on the end when you're finished with the spot.
All the spots totally unique. Like with the Herm Edwards thing, you have like a sequence where you connect something. do you take totally different content and maybe use the same kind of sequential technique that you learned in one video on another one?
Yeah, there's definitely always a carryover when you're always trying to take things that you've learned and little nuances from one to the next. And I think that's sort of what kind of keeps a signature on what you do. And it's a fine line because you don't want anything to sound too samey, but you also don't want to throw people off the tracks and make something that's like something that people are like have never heard from you before. So it's a fine line. You want to kind of remix yourself in a subtle way where it's new. It's a new melody, it's a new beat. And it's not a copy, but it also has your particular style.
Music is a more nuanced language for storytelling than words are. So if you took all the coaches and without any music and you mashed them together, you might have something funny and entertaining, but the music kind of makes it a more nuanced form of storytelling. Can you kind of speak to the difference what music adds to what you're doing?
Big time. The music is is enormous on these, and I think the music is sometimes understated and underappreciated a little bit because it's sort of a big experience when you're checking out a video remix. It's there's a lot of information being exchanged. You're checking out the storyline, you're checking out the lyrics, you're looking at the video. There's just a lot of information that's being transferred, and I think that the music is just one component of that, but it's the biggest component of that experience. So it's a little frustrating sometimes because I used to only produce music, and when it's just music, there's much more of a spotlight on that and appreciation for that. And I think that there's definitely a less of an appreciation for the music in the mashups than there was for just producing music by itself. Just like I explained, it's just because of the amount of information that's being basically portrayed on one of these spots.
What is the longest spot you've ever created?
I mean, it's hard to make them long because there's just so much work, but I would say the longest spot I can think of, it's probably one of the first ones. It's probably Press Hop. Press Hop's like 4 minutes. I mean, that's long, but I think I've done some like 3.5, 4 minutes, but usually I would say the average is 1.5 minutes.
Of course, I see you play to win the game, and I think that could almost be made into a Broadway play where those coaches will go to a Little League game and be talking to Little League players, or go to a women's mahjong game and be having that kind of creative mix into different spaces. Has anyone ever approached you about doing something bigger, like a play or a TV show?
Yeah, I mean, that stuff is definitely frothing right now. There's definitely some talk about, further embedding the stuff that I'm doing farther into the television space. And, I had sort of an idea of just sort of having a remix show, whether it was pop culture or sports, but the entire show would be sort of a mixtape. That was sort of a remix mixtape that people could just sort of turn on and, for the people who are into it, get entertained by it. So that was one idea. I mean, we've been tossing around, and things are getting bigger. I mean, some of the prospects of the people that I've been working with and clients that I've been working with seem to be getting a little larger. There's talk of maybe doing a Super Bowl ad next year.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's something that I could have never dreamed of before.
Well, a lot of good things happen, but you do really creative work. We need to take a quick break right now, and we'll be right back after these messages.
We loved him in Family Ties. We cheered him in Teen Wolf, and we revered him in Back to the Future. Now, Michael J. Fox is back, encouraging fellow fighters of Parkinson's disease to take the future into their own hands. In his most spirited and courageous role ever, this inspirational screen icon vows never to give up until a cure is found. Optimism. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
Hi. We're not sorry we missed you. Your call really isn't that important to us. But if you leave your name, number, and a brief message, a computer will record your voice, and a tiny red light on our phone will flash until we cover it with a piece of tape. Bye now.
What are you really saying to the customer who can't reach a real person? Help your business rediscover the lost art of human interaction with Ruby Receptionist, the virtual receptionist that does what no voice machine or ordinary answering service could ever do. From our offices in Portland, Oregon, Ruby handles all your calls with a perfect mix of friendliness and professionalism, making your customers feel special while making you look good. Just like a full-time receptionist at a fraction of the cost. Try Ruby free for 14 days. Visit callruby.com, or better yet, call us. 866-611-RUBY.
A Kind Voice Radio.
And welcome back to Kind Voice on Big Ideas and Philosophy. This is David Levins, your host, and we're talking with DJ Steve Porter. Steve, do you have any favorite videos that you've done? Well, how many have you done totally?
Oh, man. I don't have an exact count. There's been so many. There's been a lot of output in the last couple of years. I'm going to, I don't want to guess, but I would say over 100 at this point. At least. It wouldn't be surprised if it's a bit more than that now. But it's been just a lot of output. I'm a sort of a hardworking guy. So my favorite video, though, is Tough Question, because there's so many. There's ones that I'm proud of, there's certain ones that I'm proud of, and then there's certain ones that were, well received by the public. I'm trying to think of one that stands out for me. I think any of the ones that sort of I did with ESPN that won the Webby Awards, I'm very proud of. It was All He Does Is Win, the Tim Tebow spot, and then I did another one called So Disrespectful, which is kind of a LeBron James take. That those both won back-to-back Webby Awards, and I was proud of those. But I think there's other ones that didn't win the awards that I liked more, or that I was really proud of. And I would say that, I just finished a spot for Derek Jeter, and it didn't go viral, but I'm very proud of it. It was really fun to work on a Derek Jeter spot, and I think it came out pretty fun.
What was the core message in that spot, or the spine that held it together?
I titled it Mr. New York, and so that's sort of the hook, Mr. New York, and then I used all the sound bites I could find that was given from, Michael Kay, the announcer for the Yankees, Phil Rizzuto from when he was a rookie, and just taking all the sound bites that I was given and making sort of a montage, and the theme was basically just telling the story of Derek Jeter, Mr. New York, Mr. He's the captain, and then sort of spanning his career. The piece starts off with Derek Jeter as a rookie, and it just sort of kind of weaves in and out of his greatest moments on the field. So it was a real pleasure to work on, and I really love working on just solo player shot spots rather than the broad topics, which are fun too, but I really, really, really enjoy just focusing in on one player. And in this one in particular, the Mr. New York Derek Jeter spot, I was very proud of.
Wow. So that one clearly has a message about somebody you admire weaving together all his great moments. Other videos, do they have a social message behind them, or are most of them for fun or to help?
Oh yeah, sometimes I like to dabble on different stuff. I did a Vladimir Putin remix during the Winter Olympics, kind of a funny, Sochi problems remix, which is a little bit of a tiny bit of a political satire message and I put it up on YouTube, and it got taken down by it said copyright infringement or something by the Russian Federation. So
wow.
I got banned by Putin. But it's okay. I put it back on it's on Vimeo now, so Vimeo didn't take it down.
That's just when you're reaching a big audience when the Russians want to take you down.
Yeah, I don't think he liked it. I think they might revoke my visa.
So there's a big diversity in the people you create these videos about.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's the really I think the most entertaining part of it is that you can just go anywhere. It's a universe, and you might as well just travel around and just do as much as you can. I mean, there's so much untapped topics and themes that people haven't even tried yet. That's what I was sort of touching on before. Is that before I was just making music for clubs, and now it's just this huge, wide universe of ideas that you can remix anything. And that's the fun part about it.
Now, have you thought of or have you ever done historical figures?
Yes, I've done some historicals. I think the most prominent one was or at least my one that stands out for me was I produced a Muhammad Ali piece for Team USA a couple years ago, and I flew out over to London to debut it in front of Team USA before they were about to partake in the London Olympics, and Muhammad Ali was there, and he was there for the debut of the spot, and I would say that was absolutely a career highlight. To be in the spot itself covers. It's fun. It's a lot of. He had just some of the best quotes ever. Muhammad Ali, and
so yeah.
It was, so it's just perfect. It was a match made in heaven, and it's the Muhammad Ali mashup. If you just search for Muhammad Ali mashup, Steve Porter, any of those terms, you probably find it. And it's just it was a fun one. It uses all of his old clips, and to see him watch it. He's obviously a little bit advanced with Parkinson's, which is kind of sad, but he was able to watch it and totally got a kick out of it,
Oh, how cool. That's a wonderful thing to be able to touch someone so great. I mean,
it was incredible. It was just
he said a lot of things to show, but then spontaneously he just said a lot of very eloquent things.
His "I am the greatest" quote was the lead bite, because that was just his main one. And I kind of wove a few things in there, and then I wove a few of his classic bites in there, and also all of his great footage of him just knocking people out.
Oh, wow, that sounds like it's incredibly fun to do.
Yeah, it was a blast, and honor, and just an unbelievable experience. I would never imagine that I'd be playing a spot for Muhammad Ali, to check out in front of the entire USA Olympic team.
Wow, that's such a neat thing to do. Have you done any fictional characters, television characters, Seinfeld? Or...
Kind of crazy you just asked that. I actually produced a Seinfeld Mashup that is going to come out soon. I produced it a couple of years ago, and it's been on ice. They wanted to wait for the right time to release it, and I just got word last week that the Seinfeld Mashup is coming out. That's funny you asked that. It was actually really, really fun. All 9 seasons or 8 seasons. I think it's 9.
Wow.
And just sort of the best of the best. Just the best Seinfeld moments all together. And I didn't overdo it. I didn't over stylize it and over remix it. I kind of tried to keep all of the moments, keep integrity, with all the moments.
Are there any other TV characters or TV shows that you have done or that you'd like to do?
Yeah, it's funny. The TV shows come and go so fast that I end up sometimes doing a spot for a TV show that just came on the air. So they kind of come through the door pretty fast as far as the new prospects for remixing on whether it's TV or making commercials for television. But right now, working on a spot for TNT. It's a project for a show called Franklin and Bash on TNT. It's these two lawyers and that try to have a good time, and so they want me to convey the good time that these two guys have in a spot. So that's what's going on right now for network stuff. But there's a rotating carousel. There might be something coming up for a show called The Blacklist, which is on NBC.
Like other people, like Weird Al Yankovic, he didn't do quite what you did. But do you listen to his work at all?
I love Weird Al. I absolutely love Weird Al. I think he's one of the best ever. When it comes to making music, it's good. It's just, I think there's not enough of that kind of stuff. I think the fact that he's so brilliant with his satire and his latest album is killer.
Yeah. Do you ever hear his Jerry Springer song?
No, actually, I don't think I have.
Yeah, that never stops being funny to me. But
I got to check that out.
Have to listen to it for yourself. So, do you just admire his work, or do you take inspiration from some of his creativity? How he kind of mixes things together?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way he approaches making music, and what he does with his satire. I think is very much an angle of how I would put together something as well, because you can always put a different spin on something. It could be the same track or a similar track, but you put a different spin on it. So but you can put some comedy into it, and that goes a long way.
It's very fun stuff. So we got to take our final break, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hi, this is Corey from Runa. And at Runa, we make a number of different beverages, all from one leaf called guayusa. Guayusa is a naturally caffeinated leaf from the Ecuadorian Amazon. Indigenous peoples in that area have been brewing and drinking it like tea for thousands of years. All the guayusa that we sell is certified organic, fair trade, and non-GMO. And because guayusa is naturally packed with caffeine and antioxidants, it gives you this really nice, headed, clean, and focused energy. We think of ourselves as a lifestyle brand because guayusa fuels you in doing whatever it is in your life that you need or love to do. So if it's one of those days where you need to sit at your desk for 8 hours and pound out some project or report, then guayusa is perfect for fueling you and doing that work. Alternatively, if it's a beautiful day out and you're going to do yoga in the park or you're going for a bike ride in the woods, then guayusa is perfect for fueling that as well. It gives you this amazing, full-body, wholesome energy and helps you feel fully alive. And that's why we call our company Runa. Runa is a Quechua word that actually means fully alive or fully living human being. Runa offers a few different lines of guayusa products. We have loose leaf, tea bags, bottled iced tea, and a more concentrated energy drink can, but it's all made from the same great Amazonian guayusa. We're sold in natural, organic food stores across the country. We're also in Whole Foods nationwide, and you can always find a store near you on our website with our store locator at runa.org. So go out to a store near you, grab a box or a bottle or a can, and crack one open and try one today.
Kind Voice Radio.
And welcome back to Kind Voice on Big Ideas and Philosophy. I'm your host, David Levins, and we're here with DJ Steve Porter. Welcome back, Steve.
Hello again.
Hello again. So when you put together the videos, you always use existing content and you put music to it. Do you ever make up unique content other than music, unique sound bites to mix into the videos?
Yeah, I mean, I think any sound bites are in play. Sometimes I have to sort of construct them. If there's a sound bite that I did not receive from a client or for a project that I do need, sometimes I'll have to go out and get it. And there's some creative ways you can do that. Sometimes we actually will have somebody sing it or say it, or if we need somebody to ad-lib something, we'll add the lyrics that we need to to complete the storyline for the particular remix spot we're working on. But any soundbite is in play. I love mixing sort of sound effects into things. So, for like a SportsCenter mashup, the ones that I do for ESPN, I'll mix baseball sound, the ball hitting the bat sound effect for a baseball highlight, and that stuff's fun. It really adds an extra sort of little pep to the actual spot.
So sometimes it's like words that aren't available because no one in the video said that, and you might go out and get an actor to kind of say those words to kind of help through the video together.
In some cases, I've actually done it. I just actually kind of used my own voice and kind of comped it into the mix a little bit, for a little ad lib. And in other instances, I'll just go back through, I'll go back through content, and I'll search and I'll find the stuff. So, say if I'm working on a LeBron James remix and I've only received so much stuff that I can work with, and I don't have quite what I need, and I'm looking for a set type of, I'm looking for a certain type of word, or then I will go back through the content. I'll download one of the LeBron James press conferences on YouTube, and I'll start splicing it up and find those words. On that note, actually, I'm developing a proprietary software here internally that it's sort of beta right now, but it cuts up and organizes press conference clips or any sort of spoken word clips into vowels and rhymes, and that's a big tool that we use now, is this software that I've been developing here to make our jobs easier to find those words that we couldn't find before.
Wow, so that's really like the DNA or the smallest building block of whatever video you're creating, the words and the sounds. And you have a library of that. So can we talk from the beginning? What year did you start the video mashups? And can you talk about your organization and how it's progressing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the video mashup stuff exploded at around 2009. I put up a couple in the summer of 2009 that just sort of caught fire, and it was instantaneous. Within 6 months, it was really a fast thing. I mean, I put up my first videos in that time period, and then within 6 months I was producing the television commercials for the NBA, and so it's been about 5 years. I think in the beginning there was not a lot of people doing this type of work, and there really were no remixes or video mashups on television. And the Slap Chop Rap commercial was the first of its kind. It was the first time that any video remix had ever been used as a form of advertisement. It's come a long way. I think it's still an emerging industry, and I think you're going to see a lot more of it. And I'm seeing a lot of it, an expanse of it, in the last couple of years on television. I see other brands having their own remix. So it's great. I think it's really cool to see the industry developing and expanding. And I guess that's a good thing, because you want your industry to develop. And, in the beginning, there was no industry, so it was kind of hard to, find your place sometimes because you're the only person doing it.
It must be a satisfying feeling to see some competition.
It's terrific. I love it. I mean, it creates a market, I think it was tricky because in the beginning, when you're the only person doing something or one of the only people doing or companies doing something, it's hard to set a price. It's hard to tell somebody what you're worth. And then finally, when there's a market, then there's something that for people to cross-reference,
Absolutely. So you've been doing this for 5 years, and I guess 5 years ago, your DJing was the major part of what you did, and you did a few mashups. How has that grown? What percentage of is mashups?
Oh, it's changed completely. I mean, my entire life was devoted to a traveling, touring lifestyle where I made tracks for clubs, and then when the mashups started, I found out very quickly that it was near impossible to balance both of those lifestyles of being a DJ and always on the road every weekend, and then coming back and just being exhausted. It takes so much creative energy to produce these spots that it's just impossible to actually balance both of those worlds. So my DJing has actually, decreased quite a bit. I play local gigs. I usually like to play in Boston or New York, or occasional one-off gigs where it's like I played at the NHL Awards in Vegas last month. Occasional one-offs that are kind of cool, but there's no way to sustain a touring lifestyle when you got a Monday morning email from ESPN coming in.
Wow, and that must be exciting to get those kinds of emails. So do you have like a process like to keep your creative energy going? Like do you work out a lot, or any other kind of routine to keep the creativity flowing?
It's kind of piecemeal, From a creative standpoint, I just do whatever I can to just sort of like keep the wheels greased. Sometimes I'll go, I might go play some golf or play some basketball. Just get out of the house, not touch a computer for more than 5 seconds. Just try to do anything to make a departure and really kind of get that inspiration. Touching on that inspiration thing, try to find it in any crevice that I can find it, because my normal instinct is just to work and dig, and so I try everything to get out.
And are you able to sometimes just empty your mind of all the floating around there and just have a moment of emptiness?
I'm getting better at that. I think in the beginning I wasn't able to do that very well, but when you're first figuring something out, and when I first started doing these video remixes, I was definitely still figuring it out. I think I've got it pretty well figured out now, and so I'm much more relaxed, and I'm able to take that departure and just sort of like put the phone down and go for a walk, and that's easier for me to do now. Before, I was always, it was occupying my mind all the time, and I was pulling all-nighters. I was thinking about it 24/7, just trying to get better and understand it more. And it's a very good question. I think I've actually in the last couple of years been able to relax a bit more because I feel more confident in my skill set.
That's a terrific thing. And now you have a team. You have Porterhouse Media, and you have a team of people working with you now. Does that help you relax? Is that good?
It's funny. That's a great question too. The team is great. It's funny when you have a great team and it's running smoothly. Absolutely. I had never really had a team like this before. As a DJ, I was kind of a sole proprietor. I had an agent, and then it was just myself. And now I've got employees, and so that was a crash course in having employees. And so when you're first learning how to have employees and be a boss or whatever you want to call it, that's actually kind of stressful because you're trying to figure out how to manage things, and you don't want to do it the wrong way. You want to do it the right way. So now, absolutely, it's a well-oiled machine, and it's super great to have a great team around you, and it does relax you. But I won't lie. In the beginning, it was like, oh boy, is this something that I can I manage people? I don't know.
So that's terrific. And how big would you say your team is?
It fluctuates, I think, anywhere from we're probably eight people right now. And we're active in the intern community, getting kids from colleges and high schools to come over and intern with us. In Western Massachusetts, where I'm in Holyoke, and we're accessing the Five College area out here all the time. That's really fun.
Wow. It sounds like a terrific organization. Do you see it continuing to grow, or do you like the size you're at right now?
I do. I see growth. I think about that all the time. I'm like, in the beginning, people were, saying to me, oh, hey, that's a nice fad that you started. But we're going on 5-6 years now, so it was kind of proving the fad wrong, in that sense. And I see it growing. I think about it all the time, and I'm like, I don't see how this would disappear. It's a really cool medium to tell stories and get a message across. I look at it just as comedy or just as music. It's a medium, and I think this medium is here to stay, and I think it's only going to grow.
Very cool. And do you see, for the indefinite future, do you see yourself as always being hands-on, or do you see yourself being an executive producer, kind of inspiring others to create?
I think it's going to probably naturally evolve to, just more wanting to inspire others. I think that'll probably be the natural evolution of it. Right now, I'm very much hands-on. I'm learning to, try to be less hands-on because it's, you get a little uptight when you're constantly micromanaging every single minute of every single project. But, I see it evolving. I'd like to just sort of, in the future, just have a focus on the projects that I'm passionate about and, hopefully have more leverage on the kind of projects that I want to do.
Wow. It sounds like a very fun journey. So I admire all the creative things you're doing. Can you tell the audience how they can get in touch with you if they want to find out more about your work or want to request some of your work?
Sure thing. Porterhouse Media is our company, and it's porterhousemedia.com. And Steve Porter is my name, and we're pretty much we're right there, pretty easy to find, and you can be contacted right there on the site for any inquiries about potential business or potential ideas for projects. We'd love to talk about ideas, and there's just an infinite amount of possibilities that you can use for these video remixes. They're a great medium to get the message across, just because it's a short period of there's little short spots. You can get so much information across in such a short period of time, and hopefully kind of get it ingrained in people's heads too.
Interesting. And I just have one more question. Have you considered other spaces other than videos where you could apply the same kind of mashup thinking? For example, there's a company called Dinner Labs that rents out a space and brings in a chef, and each space they rent out is unique. And they bring in like the second chef from a restaurant who has a story to tell with his food, and they kind of mash it up together to create this one-time event. Right. Yeah, I find that fascinating.
Yeah, we actually, I do some stuff like that where it's in event-based mashups. I go on a location and basically make a specific kind of event trailer for a specific event, and it's only for that one moment. It might be at a conference. It might be. I've done many for IBM. I've gone on location for IBM, and basically just right there, we record people right there on the spot, and within a couple of days, we have a spot that they can check out for the final conference. Love that. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great interactive social music kind of thing. Getting everybody into the mix, and getting everybody's face shown on the screen, and everybody sort of singing the same tune. So it's really cool.
It sounds very cool. Steve, it's been a total delight having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, David.
Good deal. Have a good night. And this has been A Kind Voice on Big Ideas and Philosophy. This is David Levins reminding you to go out and use your kind voice to make a difference in somebody's life. Have a good night, everybody.
Things are crazy in these troubled days. Sometimes it seems the only place to turn is away. But in that moment you can throw away the fear, 'cause someone else can be just what you need to hear. With a kind voice, a few kind words, an open ear for when you need to be heard, a warm heart. You can make that choice to find a kind voice. answers, both have needs. And though most likely we will often disagree, we can just keep talking, maybe find that we can be a kind voice, a few kind words, an open ear for when you need to be heard, a warm heart. We can make that choice to be a kind voice. There's nothing wrong with reaching out when you need. I'll be there for you, and maybe you can be for me. With a kind